Hello there, my name is Ethan, and I'm the owner of the EAS Plug YouTube channel. I record emergency alert recordings from Central Arkansas and beyond. Today I just wanted to try and actually explain a little bit about what I use to actually record all of my recordings with. And so I just thought I'd do a little bit more of a sort of in-depth look into exactly what my entire setup is. Now, it may look a lot more complicated than it actually is. I truly don't think this is that complicated of a setup. I know using an SDR to record a lot of recordings is a little bit foreign in the world of alert recording, but honestly, I think it works out. And plus the other thing is I'm actually a pretty avid DXer. I've been DXing since 2017, and I just wanted to try and put this together, and I decided to combine both the setups of DXing and emergency alert recording together. I used to record emergency alerts a lot back in 2017 and 2018, and I just wanted to try and sort of revisit that hobby that I used to do. So this is everything that I've been using to record all of these recordings with, and there's going to be a lot more that come after this, but I just wanted to try and just get everything out of the way to show exactly what I've been using this entire time. So perhaps the very first thing you're going to note is that I actually do have SDR console open. This is my laptop, and I got this in September of 2019. It has 8 gigabytes worth of RAM on it, which isn't exactly that ideal for SDR console, but it does work, and it does run it perfectly fine. And this is what I've been using. This is basically the powerhouse of this entire setup. Now, there's two very, very important components here to actually get all of these recordings. So the actual SDR receiver that I'm using is an SDR Play RSP1A. I got this back in April of 2021, and I've been using this as my main receiver for DXing as well as alert recording for the past year or so. And so this right here is basically where I'm able to get all of my recordings from and actually use this as a receiver. Now, I have 3 different cord attachments that I put on here. I currently have this set up to this is standard coax cable that's connected to an FM Yagi outside in my backyard, and I will show more about the antennas that I use later. But this is connected to a 4-element Yagi beam about 10 feet off the ground right outside my bedroom window. And this is what I just use for FM. I sometimes use this for weather radio too. Although I do have another antenna for weather radio, and that's actually connected to this cord right here. And I do use this cord for weather radio quite a bit, mainly for the weekly tests, as well as just DXing on weather radio in general. The other one I have is a much smaller, thinner coax cable here. This is connected to the MLA30, which is a loop antenna that I have underneath my deck outside, and that is for AM and high frequency reception, and I use this especially for the nighttime emergency alert system monthly tests that do occur. So this is what I use for AM, just AM DXing in general, as well as recording long distance reception of either tests or severe weather alerts or anything like that. Especially at night, I just use this MLA30 for that. So these are the cords that I use to hook up to the receivers that I have outside to record, or to more rather to actually receive the signals, and then I can record them on SDR console. So I thought I could just do a little bit of an explanation as to what these antennas that I have here. This right here, this loop, is my MLA30. I got this as a Christmas present in 2021. I have modded this a bit. I'm actually using a legitimate copper coil rather than just a standard sort of wire that it comes with. But this has worked incredibly well, and the modification of adding the copper coil has made it like 20 times better than it was before. But this works incredibly well for confirming new stations through emergency alert tests, as well as getting recordings from that as well. And I also sometimes use this in case severe weather occurs at night. Right behind it is my FM Yagi. It is a 4-element beam 10 feet off the ground, and right below it, it's a little bit hard to tell, but that is a weather radio antenna there, and my air conditioning unit literally just started running right as I'm recording this. But the weather radio antenna is right below it. It is omnidirectional, and the Yagi is directional. I currently have it facing west right now. The reason is because of the severe weather threat today. I was mostly trying to face it to get KLAZ and some of the other stations. However, I already did mention it in the description of that video. It was kind of a bust. A lot of the stations just weren't relaying stuff here, but That is the FM antenna there and the weather radio antenna underneath it, as well as the MLA30. And those are the antennas that I use to record basically all of my alerts with. Now the next thing I want to show is this right here. This is a 4 terabyte external hard drive that was made by WD Elements. I got this for about $100 back in February of this year, and that has been an absolute lifesaver for me for actually recording full bandwidth IQ files for many hours, and I can just directly save them to that hard drive that I have there, and it works perfectly. Like, I haven't had any problems with it at all. No IQ file corruptions or anything like that. It works very, very well, and it's just, I just love using that, and it saves me so much time and space in this computer. I don't have enough space in this computer to record a full 7 megahertz bandwidth IQ file for like 5 hours straight. So it is an absolute lifesaver for that. So with that being said, those are really just the key elements to actually make recording possible and getting all the recordings that I need, especially from emergency alert tests or anything like that. And so these two components are basically kind of like, they're kind of the heart of it. Like, they're the only reason why I'm able to do this. These 3 components, actually, including the laptop. So that's what I use to receive. That's what I record with. And then I'll show you how I actually record on here. Now, how do I actually record this? So basically what I did prior to actually getting that hard drive is that I would actually open up a bunch of receiver panels at once. So I'd put one here, put one like here, something like that. And I would just have a bunch of, receiver panels all running at once. And then I would run every single one of them and switch it to a different virtual audio cable, because I do have virtual audio cables installed on my computer. And that's basically what I used to do prior to actually getting the external hard drive that I use to record bandwidth files on. So since then, I actually record full bandwidth files, and you can do that recording data files in SDR console. And so I can just hit record on here and just start recording and sending it over to the hard drive. And so it is currently recording now. And if I'm leaving this for a very long time and I want to see if I can get any tests or anything like that, I'll usually open up OBS as well, and I'll record my screen while that's actually starting to record there. So I'm currently recording my screen using OBS, and I have the recording going on the bandwidth file. And what I can do is, after I finish this, I can just open up the recording and just skim through it until I see what look like EAS header tones. And then I can just match it to the timestamp, because I actually have a timestamp at the top of my OBS application. I can just find the timestamp that it occurred at, and then I can just go to the navigator here, and it's not showing it now because I actually have this currently recording, but I can switch over to any part or any specific time in the navigator, and then use these seek buttons on here as well to actually find out where it was. It's incredibly useful for catching weekly tests, especially automated weekly tests, or tests that occur in the middle of the night that you cannot get because they're just way too early and you don't want to wake up to catch them. This works really, really well for that. So that's how I actually record these, and then reviewing them is very straightforward. Just open up the video file once it's done. You stop the video file after. And I have all of my video files also going to that external hard drive as well. And I'll just open that up, skim through it, pressing the arrow keys until I figure out exactly where it is. And then just use a navigator to try and figure out, where the alert or the test or whatever was actually occurred at. And then to record it, you can record audio files inside a bandwidth file. So to record, you just hit the record button to record an audio file, and then it'll just say start whenever you're ready to start it. And then to stop it, you just hit the stop button, and then you can just be done with that. So that's how I'm able to record all of these. I personally did used to use OBS to record audio recordings from SDR console, and you can actually kind of see this in some of the older videos that I did. The biggest issue with it, though, is it's just so incredibly laggy to record audio and bandwidth and everything like that, and I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of it now. If you record straight audio files from the bandwidth recording, then there's not going to be any sort of lagginess or anything to it, and it works perfectly fine. So that's what I use to record these with, and so once I get those recorded, they'll save over to a file that lists all of my recordings, such as IQ files and bandwidth files and audio files and all that, and I will just straight up pull those out, put them in my video editor, which I use CyberLink Power Director 365. I've had a subscription to it since 2015. That's what I've used for everything. And I'll just put it there. And then I will just use the same emergency alert system template that I've used for all of my videos over the past couple of months or so. And that's just kind of how that works. It works perfectly fine. Now, if there is one thing I want to go ahead and say here, I don't want this to exactly be treated like a how-to video. It's not really a how-to video at all. It's just me explaining kind of how I'm able to do all of this and set up everything. This entire setup, this laptop costs, well, I got it back in 2019, but it was probably around $350 for this laptop. This hard drive was about $100. The RSP-1A was about $125. So all of this combined together, especially with the antennas that I have outside, because it's probably an extra $100 for all three of those combined, if not even more than that, probably close to $150. It's a lot of money. And I would personally say, if you're not used to this, I don't entirely recommend this for people who are new to actually recording emergency alerts at all. I would personally just kind of recommend using weather radios or whatever you have left over and just recording them off of there. You can set up automated audio recordings very easily. You don't have to have an SDR for that. You can literally just play a physical radio in the background and use your computer to actually record the audio from it as well. And there's a lot of people who do that. But I would just say, if you're a beginner and you're trying to get into EAS recording, but you want to try and get as many of them as you can, I don't recommend using this setup, because it's one of those things where it's like, if you've been a DXer for a really long time, and you know how SDR components and everything like that work, like, you can probably do this. It's just a lot of money, and I don't entirely think this would be useful if you're just recording emergency alerts, because I've been DXing for 5 years now, and I was trying to just kind of keep upgrading it from just the physical radios that I was using, and so I finally got an actually good SDR about a year and a half ago, and it's worked out really, really well for me, and this is just my main receiver now. But if you're just there for the alert recording aspect, I personally would not recommend using this setup at all. But I was just trying to combine both of these together. Like, I was just seeing how they would work, and just see how everything would, work if I just did this kind of setup here. And honestly, it works really, really well. I just wouldn't exactly recommend it for beginners or for people who are weather radio collectors or anything like that. This setup does cost an awful lot of money, and I have spent a lot of money trying to improve the setup more and more. If you're just an alert recorder, I'd personally recommend spending whatever money you get on just getting a bunch of weather radios and stuff. So that's what I have to say about this. But yeah, I just wanted to try and explain everything that I've been using and just my entire setup in general. And just wanted to kind of let you guys know what I use. And this is what I've been using for the past maybe year or so. But yeah, it works pretty well. And I'm going to continue to keep using this setup, and I'm going to continue to keep trying to find ways to improve it more and more. I don't record multiple stations for the same weather alert anymore. I used to do that. I don't really do it anymore because of repetition. I still mostly use this for tests. Tests are like 90% of emergency alerts that get sent out anyways, so it's really just mostly test collecting at that point. But it's pretty cool, and I think it's a really nice setup. It's kind of just a fusion between both DXing and EAS recording, both of these setups combined together. So, but it works really well, and I have to say I really like this setup, and I'm going to keep using it as long as I can. So, with that being said, I hope you all have a great day. wherever you are, and I hope that everybody has a fun time catching more alerts, recording more tests, doing whatever they want to do. So, I will talk to you guys later. See you, everyone.